I am so proud that, this week, two friends of mine have carved out time for me. The Rock on Monday carved out time for us. And I've known Boomer Esiason. This is our 40th year I've known Boomer. And, I got to tell you, the hard work that he does, how hard he works. I heard something today that kind of aggravated me a little bit, because the one thing I would never put around Boomer Esiason's name is lazy. Let me bring in the morning guy here for WFAN. Hey, Boom, I know you're not going to comment on it, but I heard a guy say something today that Boomer Esiason had a Carson Wentz lazy take. And I was like this. I would have appreciated it more coming from the herd saying, I hate that take from Boomer. That sucked as a take. But to use the words lazy, Boomer, that wouldn't be something I'd throw around your name.
Well, I don't necessarily know that it describes my work ethic, Dan. And by the way, it's great to see you again. And thanks for reminding me. It's been 40 years. I appreciate that. Time flies. Am I right or what? There was a point in time where you and I were being drug all over the boo, and now I'm a grandfather 3 times over. So, I don't know who said it, and I really don't care. When you're in this business, it doesn't really matter. Everybody has opinions. My opinion here in New York, I think I'm pretty well informed about the Jets situation, what's going on with them, how and why they went down the road with Aaron Rodgers, and now what do they do? And quite frankly, people can throw out names left and right, which have been going on. I mean, nobody's really totally excited about Zach Wilson. There's not a lot of confidence in the fan base around Zach Wilson. I've watched Zach Wilson now the last 3 years. I think he's better this year than he was last year, for certain. There's no question about that. But still, his 3-interception performance last week against the Cowboys didn't instill any confidence in anybody. And now they're playing the Patriots, who they haven't beaten since 2015. So in the context of all of that, Dan, questions arise like, what do you want to do? I said, well, they're not going to trade for somebody because they don't want to give up a high draft choice if they had to get somebody. There's basically a handful of guys that are out there that are on the street that are free agents. Carson Wentz is one of them. Somebody that may take issue with that point that I was trying to make may not like Carson Wentz as a player and may have a lazy perception of him as a player. They forget when he was with Frank in Indianapolis, he was 27-7, I think, or 27-12 in terms of touchdowns and interceptions. He finished the year with COVID, the last 2 games, and he was a really good player. And then he was mired in the muck in Washington with Dan Snyder leaving the team and everybody kind of losing focus on what their job was. So I wouldn't say it's lazy. I would say it's an honest take on somebody that's a reasonably good player. May not take him to the Super Bowl, of course, but I think at this moment he may be better than Zach Wilson.
I know, and I had Frank on when he went over and took the Carolina job. He was going to take the Philadelphia Eagle offensive coordinator's job because they had offered it to him. But then he got the Carolina job. That was his plan B. And I said, did you really want to get rid of a quarterback that was 67% completion percentage, 3,800 yards and 27 touchdowns to 7 picks? He goes, I did not. And it was knee-jerk Jim Irsay doing that forced that whole situation out. So I ask you this, though, Boom, before we move on to the Eagles. Do you think Carson Wentz will be the starting quarterback after this week in New York with the Jets?
No, I don't think that would be too drastic. I know that Joe Douglas is calling around, just trying to make sure that they have contingency plans. Look, the contingency plan this year was for Zach Wilson to take over if, in fact, Aaron Rodgers missed a few games. Who knew that he was going to miss all 17 games? Nobody expected that. So the contingency plan right now is in place that they had put in place. But, Zach not only playing, but also has a propensity to getting hurt. So you have to be thinking about, okay, this kid could get hurt. And if he gets hurt, then what? It's not going to be Tim Boyle that's going to lead this team to the playoffs. I'm sorry. A nice guy and back up to Aaron Rodgers and buddy to Aaron Rodgers. All that stuff is great. But let's be real here. They need somebody in case Zach goes down or poops the bed. And next thing you know, they're standing there with Tim Boyle. So that's another reason why they need to sign somebody. But whoever they sign is not going to be starting for this team until after, I believe, unless, of course, there's an injury involved, after their bye week, which I think is week 7. So that may be the time. If they're not happy with Zach or Zach gets hurt, that may be the time that they bring in somebody like that.
That's funny. That's around the Eagles and Jets game around that time too. So that kind of goes in there. Let me get over to the Eagles here a little bit. We're based in Philly here, and Boomer, how difficult is it? You got the same offensive playbook on both sides of the ball. You lose both coordinators, and you come out of the gate here, and it just hasn't looked the same. Hurts has got guys wide open. He can't see them. It almost like 2021 when guys like Tony Romo and yourself were on TV going, he's open. Throw it over there. And it just looks like it's kind of like degenerated a little bit to back to 2021. How much does a new coordinator affect that? Or is it Hurts seeing new things?
Well, I think, Dan, that a number of things are probably going on here. Number one, he didn't play at all in preseason. Number two, they've won 2 games and they haven't played their best, which is a good sign for them. They're going to have a tough game this week against the Bucs. The Bucs are a really good team. I don't know if Baker Mayfield has found his magic or not, but he's played well. He's played really well on third down. The quarterback's down, if you will. So the Eagles will have their hands full with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. As far as Jalen is concerned, I actually have told Philadelphia Sports Talk down there the last 3 years that I love the kid because I think he's so competitive. And he's got to get used to his contract now. He's got to get used to being the man without question and having that money over his head.
What do you mean by that, Boomer? What I mean, when you're making that kind of money and you're one of the higher paid guys, what kind of weight is that? Is it more expectations that, holy cow, man, I can't put my pen here. I got to put it here, and everything's got to kind of be perfect. You're more cognizant of things around you.
I think Dano, he wants to be great. He turned down the quarterback show because he doesn't want the distraction, which I really do appreciate. He's always been a winner everywhere he went. And he earned this contract, by the way. A lot of guys don't earn their contracts. Jalen earned it and almost played a perfect Super Bowl and would have been the Super Bowl MVP had they won, without question. So I don't worry about him. I don't worry about their offense. But what you pointed to is the fact that they lost both coordinators. And, it was a cautionary tale in the beginning of the year when I was talking about the Eagles and getting used to Nick Sirianni calling plays. Now, not Shane Steichen or whoever else calling plays there. But the fact of the matter is that there is an adjustment period. And they got to get to know each other. A.J. Brown's a little frustrated. They're probably not running the ball as much as they would like to and as good as they would like to because they do still have a very solid offensive line. And let's face it, this is not the same defense that was there last year.
Completely.
The defense is giving up yards, giving up plays, giving up points. And that's why it'll be interesting to see how they play the Bucs this week. But I have them winning the game. I just think that Jalen has not found his rhythm yet.
Absolutely, Boomer. They're 31st in pass defense on that side of the ball after 2 games here. Am I right when I say this, Boomer, that when I look at Mike McCarthy, why is there like a better rhythm? And it just seems the plays are coming in quicker. It just seems to me he's more in a comfort zone. Jimmy Johnson said this to me the other day, Boomer. He goes, some coordinators want to put a lot of points up and a lot of yards up. Some coordinators want to try to win the game. And there's a difference in when you're talking about play calling people versus guys that are trying to put a lot of yards up. And he sees that Mike McCarthy has kind of made this thing with there's like better pacing to it, and they look better. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. As a matter of fact, Tony Romo was explaining that on CBS. I thought he did a really good job and a really dud of a game. You're looking for storylines. You're looking to explain things to people. And, here's the next Dallas Cowboy quarterback who's talking about the Cowboys in a positive way. And, Jet fans are not very happy with that. But in reality, as a TV broadcaster, you're trying to tell the total story. And you're wondering, why does Dak look so good? Why is the passing game so good? Why are they running the ball so well? Well, in 1997, my last year in Cincinnati, I think a lot of Philadelphia fans will remember this because we played the Eagles towards the end of that year. When I took over with about 5 games left to go in the season, our offense went from averaging, I think, 19 points a game to 34 points a game. And the reason we were able to do that are 2 reasons. One, the team needed settling down. They needed an older quarterback to run the team and calm everybody down because we had a lot of great young players, including a rookie by the name of Corey Dillon, who was shot out of a cannon. He just needed to be pointed in the right direction, and then his ability would take over. And that's where I come in. And I was going so fast as an offense, and it wasn't a no-huddle offense. We were playing on a Thursday night against Tennessee, and I was going so fast. That was the night I think Corey ran for like 240 yards. It was a rookie rushing record in the NFL at that time. It was an amazing game. Jeff Fisher was the coach of the Titans, and they were a good team. They were a really good team, and they had a very good defense. And we ran up 34 points on them, and Corey had all those rushing yards. And he said to me after the game, he goes, what were you doing? Like, that wasn't the no huddle, was it? Because he remembers playing against me when we ran the no huddle when I was in Cincinnati. I said, no, coach, it wasn't no huddle, but I did speed it up on you. And you boys weren't ready for it. It was a Thursday night game. I said, you boys were not ready for it. And I think that's exactly what Mike McCarthy's doing with Dak. And the nice thing about it is, it's the opposite of what's happening in Denver right now. So Sean Payton's got this long lineage of plays, and Russell Wilson is really struggling to call the plays and get the personnel in the huddle, where I think Dak and Mike are in sync right now. So who's ever coming in on the sideline with the new personnel group, Dak knows the plays that are assigned to those personnel groups. And I think Mike is getting the plays in fast to him, and they're in and out of the huddle within 10 seconds. And I love that. And you do a lot of first sound at the line of scrimmage, all these little nuanced things that the offense can do to give them a distinct advantage, especially when you're playing against a good defense like the Jets, who they made look silly.
Absolutely. Boom, let me throw this at you here. A couple last questions for you. Who you been more impressed with, the 49ers or the Cowboys?
Cowboys, for sure, Cowboys. But they played two questionable offenses in the Giants and the Jets. They weren't playing Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not going to take my hat off too much to them. But I would say that, out of the gates, the numbers are startling. The defensive numbers are startling. And Micah Parsons looks like, a reincarnation of Lawrence Taylor right now. So I would say them slightly over the 49ers. And I do love the 49ers, and we'll see them tomorrow night against the Giants. It's going to be a long night, I think, for Evan Neal, the right tackle of the Giants, going against Nick Bosa, who hasn't had a sack in 2 games. So,
Wow.
He's going to be frothing at the mouth to go get Daniel Jones.
Please give me. You're the only guy. I had Craig Carton on a couple weeks ago.
Why?
I had him on, and I asked him about Daniel Jones, and there just seems to be that people were buying him at the Boom, tell me what do you think he's an elite quarterback?
Well, I mean, what is elite? Top 5 quarterback? No, there's very few of those. We all can name them right now.
Yeah.
Is he a top 15 quarterback? I would say if he plays like he did in the second half against the Arizona Cardinals, hell yeah, he's a top 15 quarterback. And, that was probably his best performance in a half, given the circumstances that they had to come back from behind. Last year in the playoffs against Minnesota was probably his best overall game, but Minnesota was terrible defensively, so he beat him in the playoffs, so he was great there. But this is the first time that Daniel Jones, obviously to me, put the team on his back in the second half and said, we're not losing this game. And they couldn't lose the game. I think if they would have lost this game, I know it's only week 2, so you don't want to overreact. To me, the team respects him, really likes him. He's a low-key guy. He's like a clone of Eli Manning. So he fits the Giants motif perfectly. And, look, this is what you have, and they paid him. So now he lived up to that contract in the second half against the Cardinals. Thursday night, I think it's more of a run for your life night for him, unfortunately. Final question for you. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I know you're keeping an eye on what's going on out in Colorado right now with Deion Sanders. I mean, boom, he's doing things out of the box differently against the old guard. Give me your take on what you think you're seeing there, how impressed you are. We're all seeing what we've always seen from him. He's primetime, man. He's a salesman, and that's exactly what college football, college sports in general is nowadays. I mean, I think it always has been that. It's always been about the recruiting, but now it's about even more than that. It's about the money. He goes on Jim Gray and Tom Brady's podcast, and Tom and Deion are talking about whether or not his son Shador should buy a Rolls Royce. I mean, this is like selling his program, selling it out there to the masses. I would say any kid out there right now, if they could pick their school to go play at, it's going to be Colorado, because they want a piece of what he's selling. And I think most parents like what he's saying about responsibility. You give me your child, I'll make him into a man. I want fathers. I don't want baby daddies or daddy babies, whatever the hell he called it. So he's saying all the right things, and I appreciate it. I worked with him at CBS. We didn't get along great. We had a different perspective on things, which is why I think TV is good when you have 2 different people coming from 2 different areas and seeing things differently and then being able to discuss it. And I think he had a hard time discussing some of those things with me, or whatever the problem was. But then he went on. He went to go coach in high school. Then he went to go coach in college at the HBCU at Jackson State. And now he takes another opportunity here at Colorado, and he's making it making it fun. He's making it fun for all of us, actually. I mean, it's like you can't wait to see the game, and you're wondering, are they going to lose? And is he going to fall flat on his face, or are they going to keep winning and he's just going to keep crowing the whole way? I mean, it's an amazing story that's unfolding in front of our eyes. And quite frankly, I think it's a lot of fun.
Hey, Boom, I want to sneak this one last thing in here with you because I opened my show with this, that I think what you're seeing now with Shedeur Sanders and with Caleb Williams, I think this NIL program is going to change the draft. Why would I do this, Boomer? Why would I go to Arizona? Because the average quarterback that's in the first pick, I think, makes $7 million. It's 41 guaranteed, right? He's going to sign a $10 million NIL program deal. Shedeur is in the offseason. Why do I have to go and play at the crappiest football program when I could stay at Colorado or Southern Cal and go back to college, make the same money, Boomer, and keep my value rising? Why would I go there and go to Arizona? Do you? I think that's I think it's damage.
I think it's going to be a major problem. Quite frankly, John Elway and Eli Manning are the only two that I know that said, I'm not going to play for the team that's drafting me.
Right.
So the Chargers were going to draft Eli. Archie got involved, and they ended up making the trade for Phillip Rivers, and the rest is history. John Elway didn't want to play for the old man here, and I don't blame him, because he knew that Baltimore was going to be leaving in '84, and he didn't want to go to Indianapolis. He wanted to stay out west, and that's why they ultimately ended up trading him to Denver. The difference here now is going to be the money. And, Caleb Williams' dad came out and said, who says he's going into the NFL next year? Like, we all have this mindset, and I'm 62 years old. That's just my mindset. When I came out of Maryland, I was like, you know what? I want to go to the NFL and play. I had a chance to go to the USFL. I didn't want to do that. My dream was to go to the NFL, make money, and become something, and become, a part of something bigger than me. These kids nowadays, it is singular. It's their brand, and you got to hope that their feet are planted on the ground. Because if you draft them and they come in with all of this privilege that they have now in college, man, you could be asking for a huge problem. That's why I love guys like Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones, because they don't reflect that brand of athlete. This is a new athlete. This athlete coming now is new, and their parents are controlling it. And the NFL is going to have to react some way, somehow. It may be more money in the draft for quarterbacks. It could be anything. But I would imagine that the NFL is keeping a very close eye on it, because I know they want the best players in their league. They don't want them playing college football if they don't have to be.
I'm sitting around with Ron Salt, Pete Koch, and I think you at a bar watching the draft in '84, if I'm not mistaken, because I know Ron was with me. I don't remember if you
I was not with you. I
had Ron and Pete were in a bar, and I'm going like this. Holy crap. Boomer's going in the second round. This is nuts. I go, this is crazy. Then you go on to MVP, you get your number retired. A brilliant career.
I think you guys were probably laughing at me. See, I hope I told him it wasn't going to go.
No, we were stunned. I think you were a casualty off that '83 draft class, if you ask me.
The real casualty was this, Dan. USFL was the casualty, because that and the fact that the Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis. If the Baltimore Colts would have stayed in Baltimore and John Elway would have been traded, Ernie Accorsi has told me, because he was the GM back then, that they would have drafted me in the first round, and I would have been the quarterback for the Baltimore Colts, not the Indianapolis Colts. Because once Baltimore left, Ernie left, and Ernie went to Cleveland.
Right.
And he was trying to convince Cleveland to draft me, but they had Paul McDonald, who was already a left-hander, and when the owner or somebody didn't want another left-handed quarterback there, which is fine. I ended up in the right place with the right people, the right coaches, and a really, really great team for the first 5 or 6 years of my career.
Thank you so much, Boomer. You carved out a bunch of time for us here. I so appreciate it. Respect you so much. And again, I could take crappy takes, but when someone puts the word lazy around Boomer Esiason, that's like Z on the list of A to Z that we could say about people. You know what I'm saying, Boom?
Well,
so when I heard it pissed me off.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you got my back. Don't worry about it, though. It's it's Twitter hell, whatever. But you and I both know. You and I have an in to Carson Wentz, and his name happens to be Frank Reich. And I take Frank Reich's words very seriously, because he's a serious guy. He knows what he's talking about. And when he tells me that Carson Wentz should be playing in the NFL, I agree with him. Where? That's a whole nother story. But he's out there. He's available. And if somebody needs a quarterback that can be somewhat competent and be around the NFL game and know it, that's your guy if you don't want to lose draft picks.
I think he's the best guy out there. I mean,
he's
he's the best guy, Boomer.
It's just perception. That's all. And unfortunately, if he comes to New York, it would be.
Could he handle it? Could he handle it? Could he handle New York?
Yeah, he's a hunter. He's out hunting with bows and arrows, for God's sake. So I think he can handle anything. It's just that he's a little bit of a different cat. He's a different personality. That's all. And maybe he doesn't ingratiate himself to his teammates the way that you would like. But I know one thing: the guy can throw it. And Frank had him right on the right path. Man, they had him on the right path until Jim Irsay jumped in and said, I can't go through another year of this. So that's the way it works.
Well, we know Jim Irsay, how that organization's run. Boomer, thank you, my friend. We'll look forward to you this weekend. NFL on CBS. Thank you so much, my friend.
See you, Dano. Take care, brother.
You got it. That is our good friend, Boomer Esiason. Again, you hear Boomer saying that potentially that the Jets may take a look at him. I've known that guy over 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. 40 years. Why isn't when? You know what? I never looked at Aaron Rodgers in the light where I would go like this, that he's a great teammate. How many teammates have talked shit on him before? Right? How many teammates have crapped on him before? I'll tell you what, it's great to hear Boomer Esiason has great respect for Jalen. You hear what he said? He believes Jalen Hurts has earned his contract. He believes Hurts has earned his contract. Wow. Carson Wentz from the Deer Hunter range to the Jets and Broadway. Broadway Wentz. Wow. How's that sound, Tone? Broadway Wentz. Oh. Wait a minute. Carson Wentz starting versus the Eagles, playing for the Jets. How about that? Hey, Carson Wentz is going to start for the Jets versus Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Holy shoot. Holy shit. Would that be must-see television? Joe Douglas signs Carson. I think Joe Douglas should sign Carson Wentz. It's Wentz season, baby. Wentz season. How you doing? It's Wentz season. Holy cow. Yeah. Okay. Congrats, they played Zach Wilson. I'm not sure what that means. Holy cow, Sills. Wentz season, Howie. Wow, Carson Wentz beats Hurts. Is it at the link? Is it at the link? Sills loves Wentz of that skin shade. No, I like content. That's my favorite color. My favorite color, LJ, is content. Seriously. I got two favorite colors, green and content. Those are my favorite colors, content. The game is in New York. Damn. Yes, sir, Joseph. Carson Wentz versus Jalen Hurts. Oh, please, God, let that happen. That would be unbelievable. All right, let me flip this back to the topic we were talking about. This season could be a failure for Howie. By the way, let me springboard into the other topic. Do you think you have good enough coordinators right now to get you to a Super Bowl? Do you think you have did Howie hire good enough coaches to get you back to the Super Bowl? Yes or no? Scott says yes. Do you have good enough coaches, coordinators? It depends. Depends ain't going to get you back to the Super Bowl. So, lack of talent in the coordinators. You still think you're a Super Bowl contending team? Are the Eagles still a Super Bowl contending team right now? 31st in pass defense. And you're playing the shitbag quarterbacks in the early part of the schedule. Isaac goes, it's 2 weeks in. Oh, so you think this is radically going to change against the 5th best defense in the NFL on Monday night? And Mike Evans? You're magically going to bring Brian Dawkins out of retirement and put him in the secondary? Dude, you don't have the talent on this team this year. I would say so because they are still in the NFC. Look at Tone throwing you guys life preservers. He's right. He's right. NFC doesn't really have any good football teams in it. They really don't. They don't have good teams. Oh, wait. They don't have a bunch of good teams. Cowboys, Niners, Eagles. Actually, the Bucs have been a surprise. I think the Saints are going to continue to get better. You'll see. Actually, honestly, I think Sean Desai's done a nice job on that side of the ball. I do think he's done a nice job because he doesn't have the talent that Jonathan Gannon had last year or the health. Personally, I'm going to say it one more time. I don't think Darius Slay is very good anymore. I think he's okay. I saw Mac Jones and get Kirk Cousins. I think he's good. I should say this. I think he's good. He's not Pro Bowl stuff. That ain't happening. That's not. Bradbury's the better corner now on the Eagles. Bradbury's the better corner. Number one run defense. Teams throw the ball in this league, my friends. My guy, Big Sills, how are you, friend? Eagles need work all weekend. Hope circumstances break for us. Tone said at the NFC's weak. Ace, they're still going to be in the conversation. Saints, 49, but they're not as dominant as they were a year ago. They're not going to. How about this? This is a prediction. This is a prediction. I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were a year ago because they're not going to be able to dominate on both sides of the ball like they did. Last year, you were able to dominate. And by the way, something else that will rear its head. Because you can't dominate on defense, your special teams is going to suffer even more. And when you don't score and you have 3 and outs, it's going to make your offense look worse. Last year, if you had some 3 and outs, your defense got 3 and outs. You're not going to have a defense with 3 and outs. You said Pats were going to run all over us, though. Yeah, LJ, no, they just threw the ball all over you. I actually thought you'd play better in the secondary. You didn't. He threw for 354 yards. And they still had 400 yards in total offense on you. Over 400 yards. I mean, any way you slice it up, they had 400 yards in offense on you. Actually, Sills flip-flop. Yeah, because the Eagles have flip-flopped. Now they're really good against the run, and they're awful against the pass. Yeah. Actually, the defense has flip-flopped. Am I wrong? Right, Tone? Everyone? The defense has flip-flopped. They went from last year being 16th, the year before that, 22nd against the run, or number 1 against the run, and you're 31st against the pass. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Your defense flip-flopped. So is that a flip-flop because your defense flip-flopped? So this guy wants me to sit here and still talk about how good they are because they stopped the run and not address the fact that you're 31st in pass defense. Solid. Solid take. I'm more comfortable and confident with Desai. And I still think Brian Johnson is going to figure it out. But I got to tell you, I think Howie's got too much influence in this thing and why they're looking the way they are. I think this is a Howie problem. Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why I'm blaming Howie Roseman for Jalen's play? Ace, thank you. It's all good, dog. Hey, am I crazy? Hey, tone you to everyone. I'm blaming Howie Roseman. Boomer Esiason said something. Boomer Esiason said something that makes me think about Jalen and Howie. Am I crazy to say this? I kind of blame Howie Roseman for Jalen Hurts' play. Why would that be? Why do you think? Why would that be that I would look at Howie? No, you're just crazy. I blame everyone. I don't blame anybody but myself for things that I do. Money. Interesting. Boomer Esiason said that Jalen Hurts has to learn to live with the contract and the money he's now making. I thought that was an interesting comment. Sliding before the hits come. Apprehensive in throws. Suspect play calling, personnel decisions. All of that builds with pressure. The money you're making, I got to do everything perfect. I've got to be perfect. I can't get hurt. I wonder how much that contract might be. Hey, you go from nothing basically to $50 million a year and one of the highest profiled players in the league overnight. This has been like overnight. This is like overnight success. And I said, and I started the show, I think he's mature to handle it. But I'll tell you what, in his play, he's been apprehensive. I think he's playing cautious. Not my guy. I think your guy's playing cautious. Not because he's scared. Not because he's afraid. Because he knows how important he is to the organization and to the team's success. That's a lot of weight on a guy. They're going to go as far as he goes. He's hurt, it's over. Like I said, Jalen Hurts is hurt, it's over. It's over. 99% of the places around the league, their quarterback gets hurt, it's over. A lot of money, man. I never thought about that comment until we were talking here a little bit about Jalen Hurts has got to learn to play with his contract and live with his contract. I mean, again, when I noticed it in the New England game, and Boomer kind of enhanced it. Got to learn to play with that money. And that's what we saw a little bit with the pre-sliding into contact, getting down. Umberto said something. Seals, do you think Kelsey and Lane are starting to show their age? Kelsey is. Kelsey looks old. Lane was not very good in that New England game. And these guys are really great run blockers. But the quarterback's getting hit more. And I believe, personally, I think that the Eagles do not look good after 2 weeks pass protecting. And I don't think they have a running back that could pick up blitzing. If I were the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles, I would blitz Hurts every series. I would blitz him. It's funny. I had a conversation with, you know what? You know, it's funny. So Bruce Arians called me last night. You know what he asked me? He asked me my opinion of the Eagles. He asked me my opinion. Would you like to hear what I said? Let me write this down. Think he's getting a little intel? Bruce. Maybe we'll get Bruce Arians on tomorrow. I gotta tell you what Bruce Arians asked me. Look at Joey, already assuming the worst. Still's telling him how to beat us. Hey, NovaCare Center guys, you'll want to hear this. Okay? I didn't think about it. Out of nowhere, I get a call from Mr. Cocktail. There's Bruce Arians on the phone. Hey, Bruce, what's up? What do you think of his Eagle team? I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, right? Hold on here. We're going to do that in hour number 2. We're also going to look at some of the great games coming up in the NFL in week number 3 here, prior to that Monday night game. Don't forget, it's the 40th anniversary. I hadn't thought about why Bruce Arians called me last night. Holy cow, man. Bruce might be in the chat too, Quan. I don't know. All our great friends at Hooters, man, we so look forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you so much, man. 7 locations. Go to northeasthooters.com to find one of the locations nearest you. King of Prussia is the one that we're going to be doing a lot of events at. If you can't get into the place, you can order the great food over hooterstogo.com. Football and Hooters. No, you can't go wrong this football season. Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, a 40-year tradition. 1983, all you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. Go to northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. I really never thought about it, why Bruce Arians called me last night, until some of you pointed it out to me. Hey, those at the NovaCare Center who watch the show, like Nick Sirianni and Tracy Rocker, you're going to want to hear this on what I told them about the Eagles. Hour number 2. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters.